Chefs of the Future, COF Nation, COF Nation. We have major restaurant chains taking delivery off as an option. And we also have a restaurant manager that says that he's making as much now as a food delivery worker as he was then. And we also have Shake Shack taking over PNC Arena as they open up a new restaurant. All of that and more. Let's talk. That I love Danny Meyer. It's no secret that I praise everything Danny Meyer. And we love here on the show us some Hospitality Union Square Hospitality Group. And we just love them, guys. They really, in my personal opinion, are the gold standard when it comes to fast casual dining. They really understand the customer. They put nobody and nothing over the customer's experience and what the customer's going to eat and how the customer's going to feel while they're in their establishments. And this is what makes them top dog, in my opinion, in their category. Because they don't try to venture out their category. They don't try to redefine it. They just try to refine it and define what it means to what hospitality is. And they fit their name perfectly. Union Square Hospitality Group. And they're awesome. And look, now, so any news story I hear about Danny Myers and the Union Square Hospitality Group. Now, Shake Shack, being one of the restaurants under the umbrella, is opening up a new restaurant in PNC Arena. And how do I feel about that? That's effing awesome. Now, the reason why this story made it here is because, one, we're a fan of Danny Meyer. Two, we're fans of Union Square Hospitality Group. And three, this is awesome because this lets us know everything in a nutshell. This lets us know a couple things. One, none more important than the consumer confidence. You know, all the business insiders, all the customers are there, and all the business insiders are tracking this to be a huge recovery from the pandemic. And people are eager to go out. People are still hungry, and they're not deterred from going out to eat. Now, this is awesome, one. And two, you have the confidence in the investors. The investors are still willing to expand, still willing to open new restaurants, which is great as well. And all of this was covered in detail in previous episodes over the last couple of months and last couple of years as everything unfolded. So it's awesome to see all of this come full circle. Now, as it relates to this story, this lets us know the second thing, which is this. Exhibition is still hugely important and on the forefront of everyone's mind. The act of going out and going to a game, going to a concert, and with that, the following ecosystem, the amount of money they're making the restaurants, the amount of money they're making the parking for the cars, you know, etc., and everything that trickles down. And that's what's huge. Because, yes, people will still eat, right? That's why the cooks and the chefs, I feel, will always have a job. Now, the amount of cooks, the amount of chefs, the servers, the waiters, the waitress, the hosts, those are the people that would be eliminated first when it comes to automation and future technical innovation. The cook will not wouldn't be far behind. Now, what I fear would be a loss of hospitality. That hospitality, the feeling you get when you go out to eat. And as a customer, we'd be all the less for it when it comes to experience, because we'd be just getting the product with none of the bang. You know, similar to what's going on with movies today and TV shows. You have the rise of streaming TV shows and movies that the exhibition of movies is being slowly chipped away at and forgotten about and becoming less important. And so is dining, eating out. I'll never deter somebody from eating out, supporting a restaurant by getting food delivered to their house. But the restaurant receives significantly less profit from that transaction than they do when somebody goes out to eat. And the customer experience and relationship with that restaurant is greatly and drastically increased when they dine in. So when they say they're opening up a new restaurant, that's awesome. But when they say they're opening up a new restaurant in a arena, in an exhibition hall, that gets me all kind of tingly, all kind of feels, because that lets me know that everything really is going to be okay. But that's enough on that topic, because there's a lot there. Let me know your thoughts on that. Comment below, and we could join that conversation. We could revisit it if you think there's something that I'm forgetting and I'm overlooking or I'm overthinking. Let me know your thoughts on that. Chefs of the future, let's go. And look, PNC Arena, before we get into all of that, right? Before we get into all that, Chefs of the Future, if you want to cop some merch, be a part of the show, support your boy, support everybody that's here, everybody that's behind the scenes that makes this show possible. Cop some merch, head on over to the IG page, shoot us your size, and we get the business and the ball rolling. And all right, we have a lot to talk about, so I'm eager to jump into it, and we're going to jump into it firstly with this story. Now, it's no secret, but moving along, we're going to jump into our second place, and our second thing is this. Now look, in my opinion, this story, I normally probably realistically wouldn't have covered, but because of where it's coming from, it grabbed my attention, and it kind of forces me to create this topic. Now, a story on the Business Insider about a former restaurant manager who is now an Uber's Eats driver, who is reportedly now saying that he makes just as much as an Uber's Eats driver that he was making as a restaurant manager. Now, I normally wouldn't have covered this, but it is topics that we've covered here on the show, being gig work, and also restaurant news is tucked in there somewhere as well. So, all right, let's cover it, because it is on a major outlet like Business Insider, and we have covered articles on the Business Insider as well. Now, let's talk about this. When it comes to gig work, right? We've covered on the show, on the first season especially, the gig work and the exchange. What do you give for being compensated a little bit more per hour than your average worker that may be on the site that you're even working on, let alone in your industry, that you're working with that day even? So if you're a gig worker that's a fry cook, working a grill cook, let's say, and you're at a spot, the person you're working with, you may be making more than that person per hour, but it's the exchange and what you're not getting that's not understood by most gig workers. You know, and we went to highlight the benefits, the lack of benefits, the lack of health care, the lack of a retirement plan option, the 401k. These are the things that dental, vision, these are prescription coverage. These are the things that a normal full-time employee would have the right to. And these things are not given an option to what's considered a contract worker, which most gig workers are considered when it comes to the taxes and the IRS. They're not entitled to that by law. So they don't have to offer those things. And that's, in the long run, just most gig workers are ones of coming from financial hardship backgrounds. So they're already pre-exposed to poverty. Now, being a gig worker for years sets up a system that exacerbates the poverty as well. And you have this coming to the forelight over the last couple of years. And us talking about the show, on this show specifically over and over. And as it relates to this article, it seems to be, still bringing to light gig work, but almost in the way I read it and the way I interpret it, be glorifying gig work. I think people would take away from this article things that they shouldn't. Not to say that gig work is something to be ashamed of. It's not. Not to say gig work is something that is less than other work. It's not. You know, there's perfectly great individuals, perfectly good jobs on gig work. They serve the role for what it was meant to be. But when they become a person's only source of income for year in and year out, you know, and those years multiply on top of each other, consecutive years, then it becomes a problem. It becomes stagnant. It's not what the gig work system was meant for. It was meant to be a stepping stone in somebody's professional career. Now, and not the job that they have for decades, or a decade or better. And unfortunately, I've come across individuals that made a career out of gig work. And we've all known people, we're probably gig workers ourselves, professional gig workers, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're here on the show is to talk about the things people don't talk about. And to say, hey, look, that gig work is fine. You know, you may be making $23 an hour, you know, delivering food or whatever, but do you have health care? Do you have health insurance? Do you have prescription insurance? What's your dental, your vision look like? Are you buying into a 401k, you know, a retirement plan? You know, all of these are necessary questions. Are you keeping up with your taxes? You know, how is that situation looking? Are you paying into your social, you know, your social dues and all of that? All these are necessary questions that people don't ask until they're long tooth into their life and the problem presents itself as a huge hurdle. But of course, this is what we're here for, baby. This is what we're here for, to have these conversations. So let's take a look at this article. I feel like I spend a lot of time bashing it. I'm not bashing it. What did I like about this article? I'll tell you this. The author, Grace Dean, she's a talented author, and I feel like she has a promising career in this field because she seems to have her heart in the right place, but she needs to really understand what she's writing about and the impact of the people she's writing about. But of course, she's from the outside looking in, and us being chefs here, cooks and restaurant managers ourselves that sit here and watch the show and listen to me speak and join our conversations, we live the things she's talking about. So what I liked about it is Grace Dean. That's what I liked about it. What I didn't like about it, stance that it takes to try to glorify restaurant workers. I feel it doesn't try to glorify it, but I feel that's what people would take from it. Is, oh, maybe I should get into this because of this reason. And that's my concern, because this isn't a small publication. This is a quite large publication that I quite fancy. So this is why it grabbed my attention with the Business Insider. But yes, jumping into this, let's jump into this real quick. So the title of this is, I'm a former restaurant manager who quit the restaurant industry to become a Uber Eats driver. I earn the same amount of money and I get to spend more time with my kids. And you see, look, that's huge, because we talk a lot about sacrifice here on the show, and being a chef, if you want to do this professionally and have any kind of professional longevity in it, you're going to have to make a sacrifice when it comes to time, the people you spend time with. We always encourage you here on the show to do your own due diligence and let us know what you feel. How do you feel about this topic? We could always revisit it. You could join the conversation and let us know your thoughts in the comments and all of that down below. All right. And the last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is this. Now, we have, again, something that we've been talking about extensively here on the show over the last couple of months, over the last couple of years, which is deliveries and its uptick in demand, especially during the pandemic era. And it seemed at one point to be the save all end all of answers when it comes to what the restaurant needed at the time. Then the second thing was, man, this isn't what it cranked up to be when they started raking in the fees per order and per month and raking in how much they was actually making in profit once everything was said and done during the pandemic. When it comes from the standpoint of small restaurant owners or even chain establishments, once they started cranking the numbers and seeing what those look like. And we was talking about how it's a good and it's a bad thing. Again, with that exchange, you have the good part, you have more of accessibility with its customer base, each restaurant, whether it be a large brand or a small brand. Even though the small brands tend to get drowned out on the apps, you still have a presence on the app now when you once didn't. People can now access your food, access your kitchen, have access to your chef, and order something through many avenues, via phone, via email, via the app now. You know, walk in, order your food and walk out and have it delivered to the curbside pickup. You know, many ways to interact with the public now. That's a good thing. The bad thing is you have the increased demand on the staff in each establishment. Now we have restaurant chains that's now officially saying, look, we're going to cut back drastically our options when it comes to takeout and delivery. And what's our take on this? Let's be honest, we work in the kitchen. This is not new news. This is something that has been happening since the pandemic started. We've been, when it gets hectic, cutting off the delivery systems, you know, calling in the office and saying, cut off the delivery since it all began. Chefs of the Future, we out.